From manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Colorado Rockies in the first game of a 4-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Rockies, right-hander McCade Brown, and for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40 as the Padres continue this 7-game homestand. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We check in with Padres radio voice Jesse Agler in just a few minutes. And in a little while, I go one-on-one with Rockies outfielder and San Diego's own Mickey Moniak. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today 79-67. They enter the day 3 games behind the LA Dodgers for first place in the National League West. Padres holding the NL second wild card spot entering the day. They're 3 games up on the Mets, who hold the final wild card spot, 4 games behind the Cubs for the first wild card spot. Meanwhile, Colorado comes in 40-106, by far and away the worst record in all of baseball. Rockies have lost 5 in a row. That includes losses last Saturday and Sunday to the Padres. Well, the Padres and Reds played the final and rubber game of their series here at Petco Park last night. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
We had a pitcher's duel last night. Nick Pivetta and Andrew Abbott matching zeros. We had a scoreless game in the bottom half of the 5th inning. That's when Fernando Tatis Jr. dug in.
Here's the 7th pitch of the at-bat. And Tatis hits it in the air to deep left field. Hayes is back at the wall. It's going to go! Number 21 for number 23. And the Padres find the first run of the night off the bat of Fernando Tatis Jr.
His 4th home run in the last 14 games. Padres still led 1-0 going to the 7th. Pivetta still working. Ke'Bryan Hayes at the plate for Cincinnati.
This one hit in the air to very deep left field. Laureano is back to the wall, measuring it up. He leaps up, and he made the catch! Oh, Ramon Laureano!
Outstanding play by Laureano. It kept the Padres ahead 1-0. Pivetta went 7 scoreless innings, struck out 8. He was simply terrific and left in line for the win. Top of the 8th inning, Reds had a runner on second base with 2 men away. It was Adrian Morejon against Elly De La Cruz.
1-2. The pitch to De La Cruz, muscled into right field. That's a base hit. Fernando charging it. Friedl rounding third on his way. Here's the throw to the plate. The tag. He's saved. Oh, it was close. Friedl slid head first and apparently just beyond the tag of Elias Diaz. What a throw from Tatis. Tie game 1-1.
After De La Cruz stole second, the Padres intentionally walked Austin Hayes to put runners on first and second. The Reds then pinch hit for Gavin Lux with the right-handed hitting Miguel Andujar.
First pitch, and Andujar lines it into left field. Laureano charging straight in, has to play it on a hop. De La Cruz will score. Laureano drops the ball. That's going to allow Hayes to go all the way to third base. And a pinch hit RBI single for Miguel Andujar has given the Reds their first lead of the night. It's 2-1.
Padres trailed 2-1 going to the bottom of the 9th inning. They got a leadoff double from Gavin Sheets, but could never get that tying run in. Final score last night in the rubber game of the 3-game series, the Reds 2 and the Padres 1. Padres losing the final 2 games of the 3-game set against Cincinnati. As we get ready for today's game, you can always get involved on our pregame coverage by finding me on X at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DMs open as well. Same handle there. You can also chime in on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from, and if you have a key to tonight's game, I may just read it live here on the air. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Jesse, let's start with a positive from yesterday. That continues to be the power we're seeing from Fernando Tatis Jr. No secret, that power was mostly absent for a while, but he's now hit 4 home runs in his last 14 games, and certainly that would appear to be a very big deal for this team moving forward if Fernando is starting to find that power stroke once again, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think when you get down to this time of year, and particularly, I guess, the next time of year being the October time of year, it's probably overly simple to say you'll go as far as your stars take you, but there is some truth to that. And, I think when you start looking at the Padres, you're looking at Fernando, you're looking at Manny, and you're looking for those guys to kind of lead the way. Tatis seems to be turning the corner. Machado obviously trying to do the same. And you know what? It's September the 11th. There's still a couple weeks left in the regular season. And I know for all of us, it kind of feels like every game is the biggest game ever, and we're right here at the end of the season. But the reality is the Padres are, they have put themselves, based on the success they had this year, in a pretty good spot. And they have kind of allowed themselves this moment where, you're kind of okay with Fernando starting to come out of it. You're okay with Manny not yet coming out of it because there is enough time for Manny to do that before the end of the regular season. And if it's all systems go for those two guys, everything becomes a lot easier for everybody else. And the scoreboard, I think, starts to look a lot different for the Padres on a night in and night out basis.
You mentioned Manny. Let's dive into it a little bit more. Obviously, it's been a really, really tough stretch for him. He had a really rough series against the Reds. It has not been great since August 1st. No secret there. Jesse, what do you make of what's been going on with Manny really the last month or so?
I think, there's probably a couple of things at play, and I imagine they're related and they kind of compound on top of one another. And one is the guy has played, almost every inning this whole season. And it's the second week of September. And as someone who's broadcast every inning all season, I can only imagine what it's like to play third base every inning all season, because I'm beat right now, man, and I'm sure you are from doing this show every day. So, what he's going through is 100 times what you and I are going through, and we're tired this time of year. So that's part of it, certainly. And he's kind of said so. He's said as much. Some really good quotes the last couple of days from Manny about the situation. And the other piece is he's slumping because, he's a human being and a Major League Baseball player, and those guys go through slumps. And again, in terms of relating the two things, my guess would be that it's harder to pull out of a slump when you're tired and when it's this late in the season and when you've got all the mileage on you that you do. But that doesn't mean he can't pull out of it. It doesn't mean he won't pull out of it. I fully expect us to see Manny being Manny again before too long. He was out today doing early work in batting practice, not something we generally see from him. And when we have seen it in the past, things have started to click pretty quickly thereafter. Not predicting anything for tonight necessarily, but we're very much in a position where I think, you got to figure we're on the back end of these struggles for Machado. But it's been tough for him, and it's a very tough time of year to be going through that, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out the early work part of it, because I saw that too today, and my antenna went up as well, because it is not something we see Manny do a lot. Typically be out there for early work, and certainly you trust his process, 2,000 plus hits, a future Hall of Famer, but he was out there today, which is not something you typically see from Manny. Let's talk about Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres here tonight, Jesse. Mike Shildt really spoke glowingly about him yesterday when he was asked about Randy, his impact, his role on this team, and it does seem like every time this guy is called upon, he does one of the most important things you can possibly do as a starting pitcher, and that is give your team a chance to win. And no reason to believe he wouldn't be able to do that again here tonight, right?
There's certainly no reason. The guy gave you a 6 at Coors the other day. Yeah. Now, obviously, the Rockies will be getting a second look at him, in 5 days, which is probably advantage offense. But more often than not this year, he's done the job. And remember, a lot of those shorter ones earlier in the season, those were almost by design. They didn't give him the opportunity to go any deeper, even though he was certainly pitching in a way that would have allowed him to do so. I'm a big unsung hero guy. I think it's really important over the arduous Major League season to point that stuff out, when appropriate. And, Randy could very well be at the top of the list in 2025 of unsung heroes. I think, a season ago, it probably would have been Matt Waldron because while Matt kind of found himself on the outside looking in the back half of 2024, that team doesn't get to where they got without Waldron kind of keeping the entire rotation afloat. I don't remember what it was, but from April through June or whatever, he was as good of a starter as they had by a lot. And, same kind of thing for Vasquez this year, a little bit different shape maybe than Matt Waldron, but you're going to have injuries in the rotation, and you're going to need guys to be able to come in and sort of, help you through that. And that's what Randy Vasquez has done very frequently this year. It's not always pretty. There are definitely games when there's a lot of traffic, but he's got the ability to get the ground ball and get out of it, and he does the job. He takes the mound with confidence and conviction, and he goes out there and competes. And, that's exactly what you're looking for somebody kind of in the role that he's in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of amazing because you think of him as so much in and out this season, up and down from AAA, but he's about to make his 24th start of the year. He's well over 100 innings already, so he's certainly been a very, very key part of this team throughout the season. Jesse is always
appreciated. How about this one? Not to cut you off, but I think I used it the other day in Colorado. I believe the last 2 years for the Padres, meaning 2024 and 2025, Dylan Cease is the only guy to make more starts as a Padre than Randy Vasquez.
Wow, that's an incredible stat that nobody would think of, right? Yeah. It speaks volumes as to what he's done and how consistent he's been in his availability, which is, of course, very important. Jesse, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Bob Scanlon coming up at 6:30. Thanks so much.
You got it, Sammy.
All right, that is Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. First pitch coming up at 6:40 as the Padres take on the Colorado Rockies on this Thursday night, game one of this 4-game set. Padres trying to bounce back after losing the final 2 games of their series against the Cincinnati Reds. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. A little bit later, I go one-on-one with Rockies outfielder and San Diego's own Mickey Moniak. Plus, we have our keys to the game, a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup, and much, much more. Our pregame coverage continues after this on a beautiful evening here in downtown San Diego on the Padres Radio Network.
Stay tuned.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40. First game of this four-game series between the Padres and the Colorado Rockies. Padres taking 2 out of 3 from the Rocks last weekend in Denver, and now they try to bounce back after losing the final 2 games of their series in Cincinnati Tuesday and Wednesday. Pitching matchup here tonight, Randy Vasquez on the mound for San Diego, McCade Brown, young right-hander, on the mound for Colorado. Take a look at the Padres lineup here today. Looks like this: Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off, Luis Arraez batting second, playing second base, Manny Machado at third base batting third, Gavin Sheets, the DH, batting cleanup, Ramon Laureano in left field batting fifth, Jackson Merrill in center batting sixth, Ryan O'Hearn at first base batting seventh, Jake Cronenworth at shortstop batting eighth, and Freddie Fermin is doing the catching and batting ninth. Let's hear from Padre manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Well, I walked inside the Padres clubhouse today, and I saw left-hander JP Sears was in the clubhouse today, which was interesting because JP currently not on the active roster. So Mike Shildt, Padres manager, was asked about that before today's game, and he said that JP Sears will get a start in this series. Here was Mike on JP Sears.
Well, we're going to put him in. We'll probably announce it after the game, but he's going to start in the series, and it'll allow some guys to push back and get him some extra days. It'll push Cease and Darvish back.
In terms of
and King and Pavetta. Everybody's going to get an extra, either an extra day or relative to the extra day, or the day off, rather, 2 extra days.
And that's obviously helpful given like kind of the time of the calendar and how much those guys have pitched. Is that kind of
That's all. That's the idea of all of it, is confidence in JP and the ability to, make sure we're taking care of Darvish. Michael just came back and has recovered well, but continue to make sure what that looks like. Dylan and Nick has been taking the ball and making sure they're getting their days appropriately, and we're keeping everybody in a position where they can go out and go pitch and dominate as a starter should.
That was Mike Shildt on JP Sears. So no official announcement from the team on when Sears will start. You might think it's tomorrow based on the rotation. Certainly wouldn't surprise me, but that's not official. We'll see what the Padres say, but certainly that could be tomorrow for the Padres for JP Sears. So Sears will appear at some point in this series, and like you heard there from Mike Shildt, the goal is to give everybody a little extra rest in that starting rotation. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres here today. Randy has been very solid so far this year when he's had opportunities. Certainly keeps his team right in the game, gives the Padres very often a chance to win. Here was Mike Shildt on Randy Vasquez.
I don't know. There's enough superlatives to really articulate the appreciation and gratitude for what Randy's done the last 2 years. He's been that up and down guy, and he's done exceptionally well when he's been able to be here. He's done what really ultimately is the number one job as a starter, and give your team a chance to win games. And he's kept a really positive attitude in a very tough circumstances, because we've had a lot of moving parts. He's been, between Joe last year and Michael this year coming up and back, and you this year and last year a little bit more, adding Nicky in, and, because Dylan's been a stalwart for us the last couple of years, taking the ball every, 5 or 6 days, whatever we've asked him to do. But that's put Randy into some situations where he's in and he's out. He's also right there, behind Dylan, his number of starts he's made for this team the last 2 years, and he's done a nice job.
Do you think he's done enough for this to be his spot for the rest of the year?
I think we're going to continue to be fluid and look at it. I mean, it's like bullpens we've talked about. Nothing's in a silo in this deal. It's a lot of moving parts. There's matchups. There's extra rest. That's one of the things that Randy's been a benefit for us, because some of the times it's not been a situation of somebody coming up for Randy as much as been we have somebody else, whether earlier it was Kolick or whether it was Bergert or whether it was Hart or whoever it was, that we wanted to slide into the role and give some of the other guys an extra day, and so that may come into play as well.
And rest was part of the equation for Randy too, because he's pitching more than ever too for him. So
his own rest was part of the equation. It's that's why these answers can get deep and complex, because they're not in a silo.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the Padres dugout talking about Randy Vasquez there. We'll hear a little bit more from Mike coming up later. The latest update on Xander Bogaerts, who continues to be on the IL with that fracture in his left foot. But I will tell you, the news continues to be very positive on Xander as he starts his baseball activity. First pitch coming up here at 6:40 at Petco Park. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Couple of quick headlines for you as we get ready for today's game. Yankee shortstop Anthony Volpe had a cortisone shot in his left shoulder earlier today after playing through a small tear in his labrum for more than 4 months. Second cortisone shot he's taken during this regular season. He apparently aggravated his labrum injury during Sunday's game, sitting out today, and he's currently in day-to-day mode, according to Yankees manager Aaron Boone. Walker Buehler, you might have missed this, but he signed with the Phillies after he was DFA'd by the Boston Red Sox. He will take the mound on Friday night in the Phillies series opener against the Royals in Philadelphia. So the 31-year-old right-hander is starting a new chapter with the Philadelphia Phillies, and we'll see how he does and if he does play a role on their postseason roster moving forward. And that is the latest as far as headlines from around the major leagues. Just a couple of quick headlines for you as we get ready for today's game. Let's quickly pause for station identification on the Padres Radio Network.
KWFN-FM and KWFN-HD1 San Diego.
This is Joe Musgrove. You're listening to Padres Baseball on the Padres Radio Network.
An Odyssey Sports Station.
Sam Levitt with you here inside the loft at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as the Padres continue to get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 6:40, game one of this 4-game series between the Padres and the Colorado Rockies. Of course, here on September 11th, Major League Baseball and its teams are continuing baseball's tradition of honoring those whose lives were affected or lost on September 11, 2001, while also paying tribute to the men and women who continue to bravely serve our communities and country 24 years after the tragic events of that day. And certainly we never forget all those lost on September 11, 2001. When we come back, we'll hear from San Diego's own Mickey Moniak, Rockies outfielder, and we'll continue to get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 6:40 right here on the Padres Radio Network.
Hey, gang, it's Woodsy. Ever wanted to
Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, improving your family's water one tap at a time. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego. Game one of this 4-game set between the Padres and the Rockies. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres here tonight. Let's give you the latest on Xander Bogaerts.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Xander Bogaerts, who suffered that non-displaced fracture in his left foot. He's been on the IL. Here was Padres manager Mike Shildt, the latest on the X-Man.
He's back to baseball activity. Alluded to it yesterday. We got Team Bogey going, which is, obviously the medical, strength conditioning, the infield guy, the base running guys, the hitting guys clearly, and putting together that plan every day that Bogey's weighing in on. And today he's able to get out, move around a little bit with Leap on the infield, and he's going to get some swings in the cages. And, he's feeling good. As far as timeline goes, it's just too early. We're just trying to knock off, the next day and take inventory of what happened that particular, today. We'll do it after the game tonight. The group will get together and figure out what that looks like, and then figure out what tomorrow looks like, and we'll keep ramping as long as he keeps feeling good.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today, the latest on Xander Bogaerts, and obviously positive news. Xander starting to do baseball activity. I like that Team Bogey, they're calling it. And hopefully Xander is back as soon as possible. And as we continue to get updates on Xander, we will continue to pass them along. Well, Rockies outfielder Mickey Moniak is batting second for the Rockies tonight, playing right field. Of course, Moniak grew up here in the San Diego area. He went to La Costa Canyon High School in Carlsbad back in the day in 2016. He was the first overall pick of the 2016 Major League Draft, selected by the Philadelphia Phillies. He's played for the Phillies, then the Angels, and now for the Rockies. And he's in the midst of a career year for Colorado, batting .260, entering today's game, a career-high 19 home runs and 57 RBIs. I caught up with Mickey Moniak about his season and about him being a San Diego guy earlier today inside the Rockies clubhouse. Well, Mickey, first, congratulations on what's been a really nice season for you. What would you consider the keys to your season so far?
Yeah, thank you, first off. I think the biggest thing for me has just been health. I think, I felt healthy this year. Last year I was kind of dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury that, going into this offseason, I knew was the main priority to just kind of make sure I got that right. And I felt like I did. And, being able to come in here was a crazy whirlwind of a start to the year. Yeah. But, being able to land here in Colorado and be a part of this group of guys and this organization, just feel comfortable. I think it's an organization that has really been in on me since, high school. And, I've always felt the love from them. And, just being here now, it's definitely think it's attributed to the success.
You said the organization has been on you since high school. Obviously, you grew up around here, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But when you say that, were they a team that seemed really interested in you at the time when you were coming up at La Costa Canyon High? Yeah,
if I didn't go to the Phillies, where I did, I was going to be a Rocky. It was kind of a predetermined thing. We had a deal in place. I knew I wasn't going to go second or third, and then the Rockies were at 4. It was either, Phillies or the Rockies, and, the Phillies had a higher pick, so they were able to get me first. But I think, trade deadlines in the past, just talking to my agent, Rockies were always interested. And then, the way it worked out this year, I was kind of able to have a choice, and, Rockies were one of the teams that called, and I'd say pretty soon after I talked to my family and agent, and felt like this was the good spot.
You talk about the team, obviously team record-wise. I know it's not where you guys want it to be, but you clearly are very happy with the team and with this organization, with this group of guys. How have you been able to kind of do what you've done personally, and how would you describe this team despite what the record might be?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm always focused on, one day at a time. I'm focused on where my feet are. And, no matter the record, I got a job to do, each and every day. And, I'm living out my childhood dream, getting to play professional baseball, playing the big leagues. And, I think my main goal, the main goal I've always had for my career is to make sure that, when it's all said and done, I can look myself in the mirror and say that, I gave everything that I had and, left it all out there. And, I just try to do that each and every day. On this team, obviously the record is what it is. I think I had a rough start to the year and, we've been playing better baseball progressively throughout the year. We've been trending in the right direction. Obviously still not where we want to be, but if you look around this clubhouse, who knows, the average age is below me, which is, crazy to think, only being 27, but, we got a lot of young guys, a lot of talented young guys. And, I think we got a lot of talent in this room that, can translate into a contending team in the future. But, that comes down to experience. It comes down to, learning. I feel like we've been able to do that throughout this year and, just continue to do that the next 3 weeks and go into the offseason and get ready for next year.
We're joined by Rockies outfielder Mickey Moniak here on the Padres radio network. And Mickey, obviously, you grew up in this area, went to La Costa Canyon High in Carlsbad. So let's take it back to the early days. Tell me about Mickey Moniak, the Little League player, into high school player, into professional baseball player.
Yeah, like you said, grew up in San Diego, lived in Mission Bay, off of Claremont Drive up until I was about 10 years old. And then we moved up to Encinitas, Carlsbad area. That's where my dad grew up. And so kind of, just went back to his roots. He went to San Diego Academy. Just like you said, grew up here, grew up a Padre fan. I remember, when I was younger, Khalil Green was my favorite player, Trevor Hoffman, was a little young for Tony Gwynn, but, always idolized Tony Gwynn, just, Mr. Padre. Grew up coming to games here at Petco Park and came to games, when it was a little less sold out and it was a little different around here. And, every offseason, haven't been fortunate enough to make the playoffs in the last, few years, but the Padres have, and I've came to a bunch of games throughout the playoffs just to come watch some playoff baseball. The atmosphere at Petco now is incredible, and ideally like to be on the field in that atmosphere, but getting to come watch a game's next best thing.
I know it's the competition right now for you when you play for the Rockies, but it sounds like you do have a real appreciation for where the Padres have come from. And look, the atmosphere is incredible here, 60-plus sellouts on the season. I know you get great crowds in Denver as well, but it sounds like you do really have an appreciation for kind of what's transpired in this city with this team.
No, 100%. Like I said, my whole childhood, I was, all I played was baseball. So naturally was a huge Padres fan. And, we didn't have a ton of success when I was in high school and even younger. And, but, to see the organization, the city, rally around the Padres, I still live here in the off season. So it's been awesome to watch. I think, like you said, it's electric. The sellouts are incredible. Obviously the organization's putting out a good team each and every year. And, that's been fun to watch as a Padre fan, as the childhood Padre fan, then also just as a baseball fan in general. So, like you said, they're the competition right now. At 6:40, I'm going to try to go out there and do everything I can to make sure that they lose. But like you said, I have the child in me is always going to be a Padre fan.
You're here in the off season, but I do want to know. So when you're back here for a few days, are there certain spots you got to hit up? Because look, you're not here from February until October. So when you are back here during baseball season, what are the places Mickey Moniak has to go to?
Yeah, I'm up in Carlsbad, so I like my go-to spot is Phil's Coffee down on the 101.
There we go.
Juanita's Taco Shop, grew up going to. It was right across the street from my house growing up. Big Board and Brew guy.
There we go.
So, coming down back to San Diego. Board and Brew's kind of, expanding a little bit when we were in Arizona. I guess they got a board and brew there now, so I got to make sure I had it there. But, every time I'm home, make sure to get that.
Today, the sauce at Board and Brew, right?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, you can't beat it. It is, top notch. So today I had this morning was, my wife's cooking, and then I think tomorrow I'll probably get some Board and Brew, maybe a little California burrito. So,
Mickey, this was great catching up with you. Enjoy your time back home here in San Diego, and we'll catch up with you again down the road. Thanks so much.
Awesome, appreciate it.
That was Rockies outfielder in San Diego's own Mickey Moniak earlier today inside the Rockies clubhouse. He's talking all about that Board and Brew. It's getting me hungry. I might have to go get me a Board and Brew sandwich after I'm done here. As we get ready for today's game, first pitch coming up at 6:40 between the Padres and the Rockies. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres today. McCade Brown on the mound for Colorado. We'll talk plenty more about that pitching matchup coming up in just a little bit. Let's give you our keys to tonight's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number 1, RISP, runners in scoring position. The Padres went 0 for 14 in the final 2 games of their series against the Reds with runners in scoring position. And quite simply, that is not going to get it done. That has got to be a lot better throughout this series against Colorado. So key number 1, quite simply, do better with runners in scoring position. Key number 2, more Toddy Taters. Fernando Tatis Jr. hit another home run yesterday, his 4th in the last 14 games. For context, he hit just 4 home runs in the 55 games combined before this most recent 14-game stretch. So all of a sudden, Fernando finding that power stroke here again. He's also been very good against the Rockies this season. 4 home runs and 9 RBIs in 9 games against Colorado. Padres could sure use more of that. Key number 3, be good against Goodman. I'm talking about Hunter Goodman, the Rockies catcher, batting third tonight. He's 12 for 28 in his last 7 games with 4 home runs. He has been very good against the Padres lately. 11 for 22 with 7 runs scored, 8 extra base hits, 9 RBIs in his last 5 games against the Padres, and he's hit a home run in each of his last 3 meetings against San Diego. So being good against Goodman, certainly a big key here tonight, and that's a look at our keys to today's game. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, tell you what's going on around the major leagues.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a handful of finals already today. Marlins beat the Nationals in Miami 5-0. Blue Jays beat the Astros 6-0 in Toronto. White Sox beat the Rays 5-1 in Chicago. Orioles beat the Pirates 3-2 in Baltimore. Games going on right now. Yankees ahead of the Tigers 9-1 in New York in the 6th inning. Royals lead the Guardians 2-1 in Cleveland in the 7th. The Phillies leading the Mets 6-4 in the 8th inning in Philadelphia. One other game yet to begin aside from this one, the Mariners hosting the Angels at 6:40 in Seattle. And that's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Thursday evening. When we come back, we'll tell you what to watch for in today's game, plus a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Randy Vasquez and McCade Brown on a beautiful night here in downtown San Diego. Series opener between the Padres and the Rockies. We keep it rolling when we come back on the Padres Radio Network.
You're listening to
When you watch people on TV, have you ever wondered what are these foam things that go over the microphone? Let me show you.
This is a windscreen. They're really helpful when you're broadcasting outside.
Without it, do you hear that wind? But with it on, I sound much more clear.
Welcome to a day in my life as a minor league baseball broadcaster. Start my day with a cup of coffee, then to the stadium. Go to my booth, spend the morning cutting video from the night before, catching up on email, and researching for tonight's game. Then I go home, shower, get my work clothes, and on this day I made a stop for lunch. Barbecue. Then I drive back to the stadium, get our equipment ready like setting up all the mics. I watch batting practice, talk to the players, coaches, write my lineups in, keep researching, and prep for my pregame interviews. Change from this to this. I head down to the field, host my pregame show on TV, then back upstairs where I broadcast every pitch on TV and radio.
And the Soft Poodles win.
When you watch baseball on TV or listen to it on the radio, have you ever wondered how you hear this sound so clearly? At my stadium, that sound comes from this mic behind home plate. It's wired all the way up to my broadcast booth, where I plug it in, and that's how you hear it.
During my broadcast last night, everyone wanted me to say avocado. Could I do it? Beautiful night here in San Antonio. So nice it almost feels like that feeling when you break open an avocado, you spread it on a good piece of toast, you take a bite in the morning, and with that, the 2021 season, and with that, the 2022 season, and with that, the 2023 season, and with that, the 2024 season comes to an end. Good night. As a baseball broadcaster, many of you have asked me some version of this. Why do I peek down when a fly ball goes in the air? Let me show you. In my scorebook, I write down the defense and where every player is. That way, I can do this. 2-2 on the way. Swinging a drive into left. Going back, Matajevic drifting by the fence. He's looking up and say goodbye.
People keep asking how I go to the bathroom during games. Here's the answer. I run. The bathroom is far away. Really far. I only have 90 seconds.
The bottom half of the 6th
I'm
inning.
always out of breath.
Frisco 3, Amarillo 2.
How other broadcasters handle a foul ball.
Yeah! Hacks!
How I handle
3-2.
one.
Hit foul straight back this way. Oh my goodness.
When you watch people on TV, have you ever wondered what are these foam things that go over the microphone? Let me show you.
This is a windscreen. They're really helpful when you're broadcasting outside.
Without it, do you hear that wind? But with it on, I sound much more clear.
EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40 for the first game of this 4-game set between the Padres and the Colorado Rockies. Rockies have lost 16 of the past 19 games. They have just 8 hits in their last 3 games. So their offense is not doing anything right now, and hopefully it'll stay that way with Randy Vasquez on the mound here tonight. Let's tell you what to watch for in tonight's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
Well, the Rockies' hitting has not been stellar as of late, and neither has their pitching been all that stellar. The Rockies have allowed a major league high 223 home runs this season. The Padres have hit the second fewest home runs in the majors this season at 128 total. So, what to watch for in tonight's game and really throughout this series? Can the Padres find some power against the Rocks? Can the Padres hit some home runs against a Rockies pitching staff that has been very susceptible to giving them up? That is what to watch for in tonight's game and throughout this series as the Padres take on the Rockies, who come in with a record of 40-106. The Padres still looking for their 80th win of the season. They come in 79-67. Let's take a look at our pitching matchup between Randy Vasquez and McCade Brown.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres today. The 26-year-old is 4-6, a 3.91 ERA in 24 outings so far this season, 117 innings and a third. He struck out 62 and walked 49. Last start against the Rockies in Colorado, he was good. That came on Sunday. 6 innings, 2 earned runs given up on 8 hits. And Vasquez has beat the Rockies twice this season, giving up 2 runs in 6 innings in both starts. Both those outings coming in Denver. So now Randy gets an opportunity to face the Rockies here at home. Meanwhile, right-hander McCade Brown on the mound for Colorado, 25 years old. He's 0-3 with a 12.54 ERA in 3 starts in the major league so far, 9 innings and a third. He's given up 13 earned runs and 15 hits. Brown faced the Padres on Saturday, did not go very well. He allowed 6 earned runs on 5 hits and a home run in just an inning and 2/3. The home run he gave up was to the Padres leadoff man, Fernando Tatis Jr. Brown has now lost each of his first 3 major league starts, giving up 13 earned runs and 26 base runners in just a combined 9 innings and a third, as we've said. So the Padres and other teams have hit him around. We'll see if the Padres can do that again here tonight. And that's a look at our pitching matchup. Couple of young right-handers going at it. Randy Vasquez for San Diego and McCade Brown on the mound for Colorado. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft. Since 1925, your water should be perfect. Well, the Padres won on Monday against the Reds, and then a disappointing couple of days for San Diego. Padres offense not doing a whole lot the final 2 games of that series. Just 2 runs on Tuesday, 1 run last night, so certainly something to keep an eye on here today. Can the Padres, whether it's via the home run or just a rally, a crooked number here and there, can they get their offense going? The Padres come in sitting at 79 and 67. The Rockies at 40 and 106. The first of 4 games the Padres and Rockies will play against one another through this weekend. It is crunch time, game number 147 out of 162 here tonight, and we'll see if the Padres can pick up a win. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Bob Scanlon have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.
Will or trust make sure your stuff and your kids go to the right people if something happens to you. It's one of the most important things you can do for your family, and you can do it all online.